Hi everyone, I hope you're all well. It is now nearing the end of August and it's time for the next shorter video for tiers 2, 3 and 4, and I'll be doing a single initial which we'll decorate with flowers that sort of flow within and around the initial itself, so it becomes a really pretty monogram. I will be doing this letter in a different way to what I did previous letters in a previous video. I have roughly, I've got another one of these gorgeous glasses. It's the last of a set that I bought a few years ago, and I don't know where they originate because I bought them from another person, not a shop, and they're just so lovely. Anyway, it's the last one, so I thought I would put a letter A. I very roughly sketched this. I'll hold this here so hopefully you can see that. There's a letter A with a little flower, a bunch of flowers going on, and I mean it may not end up exactly like this. Hang on, has my thing got in the way? Maybe. I've got the fan on behind me because it is really still quite warm. There we go. So yeah, so the fan is blowing on me permanently, and yet it's going to very soon be winter. Anyway, so we've got this A. And I've literally freehand drawn that. It's not difficult when you've only got one letter to draw. There's nothing you have to match up to, but just nicely in the glass there, and we'll see how that comes out. It's not for anyone in particular, but A is a nice letter to use, to demonstrate with, and perhaps someone would like the letter A once it's done. I always put them in my little gallery afterwards. All right, so there you go. Let's have some fun. So as usual, I've got my headband magnifier. I have got a mask at the ready, and my glasses, of course. So the headband magnifier goes over the top of the glasses, and I have placed the glass in a lovely holder that I made many years ago, and with a white background so that you can see very clearly, just like I showed you earlier on. You can see the picture very clearly because we're going to start by roughly showing yourself where everything is without using a heavy deep diamond or anything like that, just lightly showing the layout and details with a little stone, a white Arkansas or something like that. And then I'll be able to take away the white, and you'll be able to see much clearer with the engraving. I'm going to work dry. Certainly initially. I might work wet later on with the flowers, but the lettering, I'm going to work dry because I don't believe lettering needs to be particularly deep at all unless you are creating a texture. And in this case, we just want to do some nice flowing hand engraved letters. As most of you know, I normally sandblast my letters. So this is quite different for me. It's not what I'm used to, but I need to show you roughly how I would create this sort of letter if I had been asked to do it by hand, which I am asked for from time to time from the real connoisseurs who don't want anything sandblasted. Right, so I start off with a small round greenstone burr, and this is not very deep at all. None of this, as I mentioned before, none of the letter will be deep. It's surface engraved, and this makes it easier to be more efficient. This little green stone is not too bright. It's slightly dull. It's cutting in very easily into the glass, and it's just positioning. Now you will notice perhaps that the stroke that I've just made on the A, on the second part of the A, is in the middle of the thick line that I had sketched on. And this is important. I'm not outlining the letter like I did in the previous video on lettering. That was very simple outline, basic lettering. This is a different way of doing it, and this is a better way of doing it. So I have literally just drawn a line down the middle of the thicker area of the A. Okay, obviously right now I'm scribbling in the outlines of the flowers, and they're going a little bit faster than normal. I've just sped up that little bit of video outlining the flowers. So now I'm taking away the white because now you can see what's going on. And you can see there are no thick lines on this letter, only thin line. And I'm going to show you how we build it up. Now, first of all, as you've noticed, I have changed the glass to a really horrible cheap glass, and I've put into the burr a really nice newish diamond burr that is not very rough. It is a slightly finer grit, and I'm testing it on the rubbish glass because if it works nicely on that, it's going to certainly work nicely onto the good glass. And of course I am working dry. I want to work dry for this. It just makes everything easier for you guys to see as well. Now, starting in the middle of what would be what I decided to be the thicker area of the stroke, I start in the thicker area and I'm going to slowly blend it out towards the thin line. Okay, same as this side of the A. I'm in the middle of the thicker area, what I want to be the thicker area, and I will slowly thicken it up from the middle, turning the glass so that I'm more comfortable. I don't want to be, this is actually quite hair-raising. Because I don't do this, as I say, I don't do this kind of lettering all the time. I sandblast normally, but so I'm doing a lot of breath holding so I don't go all wobbly, but gently and very lightly working from the middle and stroking it nicely down to the pointed area. Now, I like to use a thicker burr where it is thick, but I will neaten up with a smaller burr nearer the thinner area. But already you can see that it's quite pretty. I do hold my breath. Please don't pass out. But I find when I'm really in a tense moment, I just hold it briefly so that I don't wobble. I'm not doing a single stroke. You'll notice that as well. I tend to do slightly shorter strokes, just gently building up. And as I say, certainly not going deep at all. Now for another little thicker area. just flicking it up when you get to the thinner area. Just turning it at the glass, it makes it easier to pull it towards you, sometimes easier to push it away as well, but it's not easy to go from side to side when you're trying to do something that's really efficient. Right here I have got a very small burr, and testing it again on this rubbish glass, and again it seems to be working really nicely. I'm looking for the chippy bits on the side. I don't want any of that nonsense, because we're not going to be going over it with a white Arkansas on the edges or anything like that. And I certainly, I want the stroke to be right the first time. I don't want to be making lines thicker than I intend them to be in the first place. So making sure I'm really comfortable, I'm going to be flicking from that sort of thicker end and just blending it as much as I can into the thinner line, and then taking the thinner line all along, because at the moment that thin line is made up of the small green burr, so it's a bit of a half tone, and I want it to be as white as the rest of it, of course. So you'll see me just fixing up little edges. Not that they're chippy, but they may not be 100% perfect, and I am trying desperately to make this look 100% perfect on the edges. Really, really neat. Now you'll notice I'm just going over the flower area. I will decide whether those flowers are on the top or behind when I get to them. But in the meantime, I want the letter to be perfect all the way through, so I will engrave the entire letter. Turning the glass again. You can see pulling it towards me makes it much easier. I'm not running the drill that fast either. Certainly nowhere near full speed, I don't think. Not anywhere near. It's a lovely, delicate letter. I don't know what I was pointing at, by the way. It's the usual story. I'm pointing. I'm doing that in silence, ready for a voiceover. And sometimes I point to things and I can't remember what I'm pointing to. So this is probably one of the scarier bits, because it's quite a long, straight bit of very thin line. So I'm just gently sort of going back and pulling over, going back and pulling over. Just keeping it in the line. And the nice thing about it as well, in fact, is that you've already broken the surface of the glass with the little green stone. And so it's not that hard. You've got that line to work with. You've just got to make sure that you can see it clearly. And I've got my headband magnifiers on and my normal glasses. And it's really important to see it clearly and just go over it neatly. You can see I'm fiddling and faffing around trying to get comfortable, but also I'm trying to make sure that you can see what I'm doing. Unfortunately, I've got a reflection. Sometimes the shape of the glass is not very friendly when I'm trying to show you what's going on, because I have quite a lot of lighting in my studio.
I've never had the best of eyesight. I'm long-sighted. I think that's long-sighted. I can see long. I can't remember which is which, but I can see a long way, well into the distance, very clearly. But give me something very close by, and I do struggle. I've always been like that. So whether you call that short-sighted or long-sighted, I don't know. So I have my glasses and my headband magnifier to make it as big and clear as possible. Now you'll see this little thin line is going straight through the top of that little flower head. Doesn't matter. The flower will just be engraved over the top of that. Just finishing off the very, very tips, making sure they have got a good, neat finish. Now I've decided that this bit is going to go over the top, and I am extremely carefully following the line just a little bit deeper so that it looks as though it is coming over the top of the sideline. I am not a calligrapher, so I don't know what the correct description is for all these little shapes and lines, and I just about know what a serif is, and that's about it. Okay, so we've finished with the letter, and now I have got a very small burr. Probably got the same one that I was using just now, actually, and I am now going over the stems of our delicate little flowers. I don't know what they are. They are Leslie Pike made up special. I just scribbled them on. Yeah, you can make them up. You are the artist and the designer, and you have artistic license. So the water is giving me a slightly different look because I am going deeper. For these little flowers, I'm not keeping to the surface engraving. I'm just going slightly deeper. It adds a different dimension. They're still very, very delicate to match the letter. I think I did speed this up a little bit. This is not normal speed. I now have this little green stone for the leaves, what we used right in the beginning for the outline. Going slightly deep, leaving a sort of a, I think I've left a little ridge. In my editing program, I don't have a huge picture I'm looking at, so it's quite hard to see. But if I can remember, I'm leaving a little ridge in the middle. So I've gone back to the very little burr just to touch up that stem. Now, unfortunately, I engraved the heads of the flowers and thought I was recording, but I wasn't. So now what we've got going on here is literally there are 3 blobs, 2 side blobs, and then I have gone slightly deeper in the middle blob, a blobby bit on the bottom coming out to a spike at the top. So the middle one is deeper, using a sort of medium-sized round burr, probably the same as the one we used for the letter. And now I am just neatening the little spiky bits. It's a very, very simple flower. As I say, this video is mainly about the letter and how you can complement it with a simple decoration. But you can put anything at all with the letter. You know, if this is a man, you could put something that would suit him, maybe something he does as a hobby. Maybe he's into building or woodworking or something, and you can put a couple of hammers and nails lying around or something like that, you know. You can use your imagination. But then I would probably use a letter that's not quite so delicate. If this A was for a ballet dancer, I could have put some ballet shoes and, you know, and some ribbons flowing about the letter. That would be really nice. So I think what I did there while I was waffling, I had the very fine burr and I put a little white line. I emphasized the middle of my little made-up leaves. And I've got a rubber. This is a soft grey rubber, but any rubber will do. I'm flattening the top because I would prefer this sort of shape for what I'm going to do next. And I've just got a white stone that I'm flattening it on. And so it's just given it a bit of an edge because as I said to you, I have made the top blob of the flower, the top folded petals, deeper, and so all I'm doing is running this along the edge of that, which is just shading the lighter engraved background blob. Yeah, it was pretty annoying when I realized I hadn't taped that, or I hadn't recorded it. I've got to say, my workshop was so hot. I was literally dripping. It's very hard to concentrate when it's so hot because it's up in the roof, basically. And, oh my goodness. It would be nice if I lost some weight during the process, but never mind. Anyway, so here I have got a little brown rubber just to make sure that I've got some darker bits of shadow where I want it, on the bottom and on the edges of that front petal, and adding a couple of touches to the leaves. And now I know what I'm pointing at there. I am pointing at the part of the A, that skinny bit going over the fatter bit. So now I've got a white Arkansas, which I also should have flattened the top, to be honest, because it would have made a neater line going across underneath, because what I'm trying to do is a very simple shadow so that it emphasizes the fact that that line is going, the skinny line is on top of the fatter line. I don't think I even bother to shade it. The white Arkansas dulls the engraving enough, and so just to touch it up where maybe the rubber's gone over slightly and it's dulled a bit of the engraving, I touch it up with a diamond. I think this is a rat's tail by the looks of things. Got to be really careful. So if you do go slightly over, don't leave it as a lump. Just blend that out a bit. It is I hope it's quite neat, because you'll be seeing it much bigger than real life on your screen. And I'm certainly not seeing it big while I'm talking to you, so it's hard to see what's going on. So I'm just adding a couple of little highlights on these little flowers. You know, I really should have highlighted the middle of that blobby bit, but never mind. So it looks like it's got a dent, but maybe it hasn't got a dent in it. Maybe it's got a little dark patch, because it's my own creation. And that is the finished piece. I have signed it. I think I did a little signature earlier on that you saw, and that's it. So there you have it, a monogram with a bit of illumination. Have fun. Do make sure you do one of these, and see you next time. Bye bye.